this is obviously when you'd be expecting Get Hard and Home, but since I won't be here until Saturday night, which I guess when you're seeing this would be tomorrow, I'll go ahead and give you these until that video. That should be like late Sunday.
Monday.
Whatever. And this is basically what I just call the temporary downfall video. It's the temporary downfall of everybody involved. Everybody involved will be okay, but that these movies exist and haven't been swept under the rug yet is not good for their image. So we're going to start with a movie it might be the only one you've heard of these four, which is The Cobbler. I'm looking, my notes are on my laptop, so if I'm looking here, I'm sorry. The Cobbler, which stars Adam Sandler, in a movie by Tom McCarthy. Tom McCarthy is the genius behind, he wrote and directed The Station Agent and The Visitor and Win-Win, and you'll notice all of those three movies were made for, like, to really have shining lead actor roles.
Oh, yeah.
Because The Station Agent did wonders for Peter Dinklage. Most people probably don't realize, like, that's how they're so fixated on Game of Thrones, they probably don't realize that's kind of where he, like, you know, I think that even predates Death at a Funeral.
It does.
And then, The Visitor obviously got Richard Jenkins, who's been a character actor forever, finally gotten a Best Actor nomination in leading, which is really something and was really nice. And of course, Win-Win is less popular, but it was a really, really great role for Paul Giamatti. And it's a really good movie, too.
Yes.
And he's also, like, he was one of the writers on Up. You might, if you want to put a face on him, he's Dr. Bob in Meet the Parents. But you didn't know he did anything else. But yeah, he's a really, really acclaimed writer-director, if you weren't aware of that already. However, he teamed up with Adam Sandler, and people were like, awesome, this is really great. And he's also doing Spotlight with Michael Keaton that comes out this year. So people are thinking maybe, you know, him not winning for Birdman, maybe that'll come back. But anyway, so his outing with Adam Sandler, everybody was really positive. It was back-to-back with Men, Women, and Children. They both played at TIFF at the same time, I think. And it was going to be great, because Adam Sandler's going to work with Jason Reitman and Tom McCarthy and be back. It was going to be like working with P.T. Anderson and Spanglish. James L. Brooks. Great. Fantastic. Well, Men, Women, and Children didn't quite go as planned, because Jason Reitman's on a permanent downfall right now, it seems. Indefinitely. And
I blame Jeffrey Fletcher.
And we have, okay. Look. Here's the thing. With all the bad stuff being said about it, I was watching it, and here's what the plot is, which you probably don't know. Adam Sandler works in his father's, shoe repair shop, which has been around for like 100 years or so. And it's just been passed down. But the trouble is, he doesn't really want it. And there's people coming through that are gonna, you know, evict everybody and take over and all that. And he's like, okay, fuck it, I don't care, sure. But then he meets, you know, the barber next door is Steve Buscemi, and he's trying to convince, you know, Sandler not to do it and to follow his father's ways, even though his father left him, and with his, you know, his mother who's out of it now. And he keeps getting, you know, there's kind of a love story blossoming with him and Melanie Diaz, of all people, where she's, you know, she's the activist trying to, you know, stop all of the evictions. I keep forgetting what the fucking word is. She's trying to stop people from being evicted. Well, while all of this is going on, he goes downstairs after his wheel breaks down, and it's a really, really old shoe repair stitch type thing. And it turns out that this thing's actually magical, and once he repairs shoes with that and puts the shoes on, he becomes that person. He is seen as that person and can walk around as them until he takes the shoes off. He looks like them, he sounds like them. He's wearing his own clothes, but it's their body. So he decides to have fun with this, and they do some interesting things with the idea and the concept. There's he does the thing where he goes to a restaurant and, you know, orders a whole bunch of food, and then when it's in somebody as somebody else, and then, you know, when the bill comes, he goes into the bathroom and changes back into his own shoes and just walks out. And there is it seems like it should be weird, but it's not. But there is a really nice moment where all his mom has wanted is to have a dinner date with his dad one more time because his dad ran out. So he puts on his dad's shoes and becomes him. His dad is Dustin Hoffman. I don't know what the fuck it is with Dustin Hoffman and magical shoes with this and Mr. Megoria's Wonder Emporium, but it happens. Dustin Hoffman loves magical shoes. And that sounds weird, I know, especially given that it's fucking Sandler, but the scene where it's nice. They did it in a nice way. You know, McCarthy has his ways. And I was watching this movie the movie's only like an hour and a half, and I was watching it for about half an hour at least, and I was wondering, you know, like, when does it get bad? Because this movie is getting horrible, terrible reviews. It's getting ripped the fuck apart. But half an hour in, I was like, when does it get bad? I don't understand. It's fine. Yeah, it happens. Okay, because it wants to go in a couple of different directions that are really, really misguided. Start with the introduction of Method Man, who is this gangster woman beater who has his own plot going on with stolen watches, and there's a plot with, like, I don't know what, Ellen Barkin's in this, and she's some kind of villain or something. I don't really know. I don't know, she's some kind of criminal or something. But she's, and all kinds of shady things are going on that he gets involved with, and he becomes the people and gets, you know, in over his head, and what? You had such a beautiful concept. What the fuck direction were you going? And yeah, it gets worse and a lot dumber as it goes, especially when the Ellen Barkin portions come in. No offense to her at all, it's just when her character was introduced, the movie just got really, really a lot lower in quality. And there are moments where I'm sure they don't really, you know, the lead character, Sandler's character, is not exactly somebody that you want to root for all the time. He can be really, I mean, despite, you know, his hard life and everything with his dad and everything, still, he's a character that's just not nice to pretty much anybody, and he's just kind of an insufferable human being, but, even though this brings it out, but there are some scenes in here that can really rub you the wrong way. For instance, he has the hots for his neighbor, naturally. He's Sebastian Cain now. So he decides, and Dan Stevens is her boyfriend. So he decides that finally his big moment has come. Dan Stevens has brought his own shoes into the store. So Sam decides he's going to do that. He's going to go into the apartment. He's going to see the girl naked. You feel uncomfortable yet? So he goes in there, and she's in the shower, and he's staring at her. And he's getting ready to jump in with her before now it hits him, oh yeah, I can't take the shoes off. There's no scene where, the way she's talking, it's like apparently they had a big fight before he left, and now, you know, he's here in the bathroom with her, and she's naked, and she's showering and stuff like that. And then he takes off. There is no follow-up scene where she questions him when he gets back, you know, like, hey, weren't you just in the bathroom with me? And he's like, no, what are you talking about? That scene never happens. It's never addressed ever again. And when we see her again, things are totally normal. So they're just trying to do a whole lot of things here. They're trying to do the dad subplot, they're trying to do the Melanie Diaz love story, and they're trying to do the Method Man Ellen Barkin crime thing. And they're throwing there's some Sandler stuff in it. Like, it makes you almost imagine McCarthy, like, in a writing room, and he's, you know, trying to deal with this, and it's all like, you know, I have this wonderful story. It's about a father and a son relationship, and there's magic involved, and there's shoes involved, and they have to say, you know, like, oh, but can there be, like, you know, cross-dressing in it? Can there be, like, a dude dressed as a chick and stuff like that? You know, he can put on high heels, and then he can... It's actually not a girl, it's actually a dude dressed as a girl. Wouldn't that be hilarious? And they don't... That does happen, and they don't do it once. It turns into a fucking plot point. He does it a lot. because that, of all people, is what he turns into when he's doing the, getting in over his head crime shit. He goes to that guy. I don't know. And then there's this moment where he this is, I think it's supposed to be funny, but it's a little creepy. Apparently the dude whose shoes these were is dead now and has been dead for quite some time. So yeah, there is actually a scene played for laughs where Adam Sandler puts on the shoes and looks in the mirror, and he is a decomposing corpse. And later on he uses it to scare children because comedy, I guess. In pure Sandler fashion. I feel like I've seen that in Mr. Deeds or something. So, yeah, I don't know how much control McCarthy had over this movie, but, and I'm not even saying it's Sandler's fault. It could have just been, a script that went wrong, but, because we know Sandler can really, really bring it if he wants to. Just look at, Punch Drunk Love.
Yes.
I know that's kind of a weak go-to.
Funny people.
Yeah, but, why not? It's that great. So yes, it had a really nice concept, and I liked the direction it was going, but once it started bringing all these other things in, it really, really crashes and burns. And there's also a twist at the end that is just... No, I understand what they wanted to do with it, but that's... that doesn't work. It just... I won't give it away or anything, but it just... That doesn't really work. So yeah, it had promise there for a while, but it just kind of shot itself in the face there. Our second movie is called Accidental Love. Maybe you heard about it many, many years ago. For the longest time, this was a movie called Nailed. And it was on David O. Russell's IMDb page, on Jessica Biel's IMDb page, and Jake Gyllenhaal's IMDb page forever. It was shot in 2008, but then shelved because nobody could afford it. This movie was such a disaster. Number one, I heard that there are crucial scenes that were never shot for budgetary reasons, which is obvious. And then, secondly, apparently there was actually a day where Jake Gyllenhaal and Jessica Biel were forced off the set because of SAG rules, because they couldn't get paid. And the crew wasn't getting paid, people weren't showing up. It was just a total and complete disaster. Have I mentioned David O. Russell's name yet? David O. Russell is the director of this movie. But because of the massive disaster that it is, his credit is Stephen Green. But everybody knows it's your movie, David O. Russell. Everybody knows. You better really, really shelter it when Joy comes out. And they changed this. They finally put it together, what little pieces they had here, and they put it into this little fucked up concoction and printed Accidental Love across it and put it on VOD. So Nailed does finally exist. To an extent. It's just Accidental Love now. And it's really, really choppy and fucked up. It stars Jessica... The star of it is Jessica Biel. This is probably the first, last, and only time you will see Jessica Biel's name ahead of Jake Gyllenhaal's nowadays. So what happens here is we have Jessica Biel's boyfriend, who is James Marsden. Listen to this cast list. This cast list is fucking insane. Oh my god. When I was watching the opening credits scene, I was like, these people are in this? Holy shit! Well, listen how this all goes down. For starters, her boyfriend who's going to propose to her is James Marsden. And she works at one of those, drive-in restaurants where, they roll around on skates and they take it to your window and shit. And James Marsden pulls up after his audition for Super Troopers, complete with the mustache, and he's an actual state trooper. He's going to take her to dinner and he's going to propose. But the trouble is they go to a really, really shitty restaurant where a guy is working with a nail gun on the ceiling trying to fix something while they're having dinner right here in the middle of his proposal. And the nail gun comes down and she gets shot through the head with a nail. And it basically causes her to go insane. Just completely off the deep end at a moment's notice. And To make a long story short, she ends up in a relationship with Jake Gyllenhaal and in politics. This movie is a fucking disaster, as you could probably guess, but let me explain why. For starters, despite the fact that it's clearly really poorly edited, I'd like to start off with the first thing I noticed about this movie, which is I was watching it, and honestly, I started to feel dizzy. Like, to the point where I was thinking, like, have I not had enough sleep? Have I not eaten recently? What's the matter here? I feel like I need to lay down or something. After I kept looking at the screen for a while, I finally realized I was not dizzy at all. That's the fucking way the camera's moving. It looks like that. And I don't think... Not like, it's not like, Russell, trying to be clever or anything, or, trying to do some kind of technique. It's just really fucking shitty camera work that makes you feel like you're about to pass out when nothing's wrong with you.
That's a good idea.
And, secondly now, I want to go into Gyllenhaal for a second here. Because Gyllenhaal is on a rampage right now. Jake Gyllenhaal has done, let's see, there was Jarhead, there was, Zodiac, there was Brokeback, there was Prisoners, Nightcrawler. He's just, cranking out magnificent performances left and right like it's, like it's nothing to him. Nothing at all. And he's got Southpaw coming up, he's got, I think he's in that Everest movie, and he's doing Demolition, which is Jean-Marc Vallée. The dude is higher than high right now. It is a great fucking thing to be Jake Gyllenhaal. Apparently he was on Broadway recently too and got rave reviews for that. No surprise. The dude is on fire. So, watching this, and this is post Zodiac. So Jarhead and Brokeback have at least happened. Remember Bubble Boy? After Bubble Boy went into obscurity, and all those movies came out, and people were like, holy fuck, look at Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought that performance that he gave in Bubble Boy was gone, never to be seen again. It's a performance you have to see to believe, and I don't mean that in a good way. He's basically become that character again, without the bubble. He somehow went to the deepest bowels of hell and dug that performance up from its cold, dead grave. And it's scary. It's a scary thing to behold, to know that such a great, fantastic actor, who's on such a role right now, could bring that performance back from its worm-infested death. I don't know how that happened. But considering the fact that this whole movie is a disaster, maybe we shouldn't play the blame game with actors or anything. Who else is in this? We have Catherine Keener as like a villainous politician, and we have her little sidekick who is Paul Rubens, and then we have her little cheerleader section who is Kurt Fuller, who's like a political figure. I don't fucking remember.
Kurt
and
Fuller.
I get Tracy Morgan is always following him around. I don't know what in the fuck Tracy Morgan does in this movie, and I saw the whole thing, and it was. Is he, like, everybody's cheerleader? Is he Kurt Fuller's assistant? I have no idea what this character's purpose is. And they're going through airport security, and there's a girl there. They have really stereotypical black names. He's Keyshawn, and she's... What is her name? It's something really... Rakisha. I don't know if that's a joke, or the writer's just being real lazy in a way of saying, hey, these people are black, did you notice? And that's a whole thing in itself. And then, let's see, Bill Hader was in there as her doctor. Let's see, her mom is Beverly D'Angelo. Did I miss anybody? There's a lot of people. Kirstie Alley is their aunt. Her aunt. Yeah, James Brolin's a politician. James Brolin is in this for 30 seconds. 30 seconds, really. And now, I'm assuming that's who James Caan's supposed to be. I read somewhere James Caan was supposed to be in this movie, and he got into a fight with David O. Russell, and it fell through. Go figure. Somebody got into a fight with David O. Russell on the set of a movie. Who would have thought that? Now, it's not just that. It's not just all these wasted actors doing God knows what. it's really, really poorly put together to the point that it's obscene. There's this one particular moment where we keep getting like flashbacks. But the thing is, Beverly D'Angelo is talking, okay? And then we're getting, as her talking is setting up a flashback. But as she's talking, it cuts to the flashback, and then it's her still doing voiceover, obviously, right? You see what kind of setup I'm going for here.
Yeah.
So, since we are introduced to it, and then she's still doing voiceover at the beginning of the flashback, and then the scene goes and it happens. Since we had that whole big setup, you probably think it's going to be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Because we've gone through the trouble of having her doing voiceover for it that's, overlapping with her talking about it in the scene before. Her voiceover stops, the scene happens for maybe 10 seconds, and we cut right back. That was the whole purpose of that. So it just feels like this was extremely thrown together. This is not, I really hope nobody was paid for this editing job. If they were, it was more like, hey, thanks for being here when we needed you. I don't know your name or what you do, but thanks for editing this movie for us. Don't spend that all in one place. Now, I understand, it seems like it's trying to come from a wacky place like Huckabees. I think that's kind of the feeling he was trying to get back. But at least Mark Wahlberg was smart enough to stay away from this. Not a Transformers movie, but he's smart enough to stay away from this. But the issue here is it seems like it's trying really, really hard to be that crazy thing where it's like you go and tell your friends, like, oh man, I just saw this movie that's it's bad, but it's so crazy you have to see it anyway just because you can't believe your eyes. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. There are okay, she gets involved with Catherine Keener, and there is a political struggle here. But this somehow manages to branch into many things. There's something about a moon base that everybody's talking about. There's an army of Girl Scouts that become major characters. There is a very weird-ass subplot from out of nowhere about child lesbians. I don't know. And then there's this thing about, okay. Marsden has to track down Gyllenhaal. By the way, this is never, brought up prior. This is just something that just happens in the middle of the movie. Marsden has to track Gyllenhaal down. And he finds Gyllenhaal in the middle of the woods, amidst this cult, where they're wearing, only the Tarzan flaps. And they have to use torches to fight in the middle of a circle. And the winner gets a trophy. And the trophy there is a table, a small table nearby, with moose balls on it. These coveted moose balls, and that is what Gyllenhaal wants. And it proves something. That is where this movie ends up. I don't even remember how that happened. I don't know. What do you say about a movie like this? Where do you take that? Jake Gyllenhaal wearing a Tarzan thing in the middle of the woods, fighting with fire so he can capture moose balls. In a movie about a woman who gets a nail in her head and goes into politics. I know it sounds almost crazy enough to want to see, but no. It's not really like that. It's just fucking dumb. This movie just gets really, really fucking ridiculously bad and dumb. That's not... Don't do this. Don't. I can't let you do this. I won't. And it's also trying to be really... Okay, here's another scene I don't fucking understand. The thing about it... I'm just gonna lay this out there. Marsden has never been able to give Beale an orgasm. That's its own plot, too. So, the first time she meets Gyllenhaal, the nail in her head goes off, and she attacks him. And she says to Beale, so he says, sure, why not? So they go into a room, and it's supposed to be this really, really wild, crazy sex scene. There are, legs in the air, and then there's a lot of moaning, and there are obviously weird contortions going on, and there is screaming, and it's happening multiple times for her. Not only is this her first time, it's happening multiple times, apparently, because they joke about it through the whole movie. But the trouble is we pan down. There's no cut, okay? There's no passage of time here, okay? There's no cut. We just pan down, okay? And it's not a joke either. It's just really the really fucking shoddy way the movie is. So we're under the impression that what has just happened off screen here with all these contortions we're seeing halfway was the most amazing sex scene to have ever existed. It was just off screen, right? The camera pans down, and they're still fucking fully clothed. But we're supposed to believe that it's totally happened. He's missing his pants, but he's still wearing boxers. She's still got everything on. She just has a strap down. This might possibly be the most sloppily constructed movie I've ever seen. I mean, there are a lot of candidates there, but I just have no words. I don't understand why nobody would even, like, try with this. And every single character is, like, really, really cartoonish and over the top, and not in that cool, inherent Vice way. Just everybody's embarrassing the shit out of themselves. And I understand, like, they were involved with a David O. Russell movie. I can understand why they thought, I mean, he hadn't done The Fighter yet, but he still had Three Kings. And, you know, Huckabee's kind of has, you know, the following it has. But, no. I just don't, there's even, yes, this is one of those movies where, they're trying so hard to be, like, really wacky and out there. This is one of those movies where a character is talking, but when they say something that the other character doesn't want to hear, they do the record scratch sound effect. And it's not even, like, in the proper place. It's just in there. I don't know. It was basically like, it was like watching Ed Wood. Remember the scenes in Ed Wood when they were making Glenn or Glinda and Bride of the Monster, and it was like, okay, we got this in one shot. Don't we need another shot for protection? Nope. Cut, print, moving on. And they just leave it there. They just leave it the way it is, and they move on, and they just edit it together later and don't give a fuck what it looks like or how it comes together. That's basically what this movie was. So yes. After all that trouble and all those unpaid crew members and all those unpaid actors and Russell having to go through the trouble of getting his name taken off, this is what they felt the need to actually go through the trouble of putting together. Like I said before, apparently with crucial scenes not even being shot. So, yes, there's not much else to say about that. Don't do it, please. Please don't do it. I know that cast is really appealing. I know it is. I know it's hard to resist. But I promise you, it's not worth it. And speaking of that, amazing cast lists are not done yet. Listen to this list of names. Our next movie is called Cut Bank, which I hadn't heard of at all until somebody brought it to my attention. And they told me who was in it. And I could not believe my eyes. This cast list is insane. Let me tell you the plot here, though. There's one, Liam Hemsworth's in it, too. He's the star of it. That's probably where they went wrong first. But here's what happens here. It's basically it's basically trying to be a love letter to the Coen brothers. That's basically what it's setting out for. And it's a small town, and we meet a mailman, and he's beloved by everybody, and we have Liam Hemsworth and Teresa Palmer, who are, we're really bad with a thousand here. They're out in the middle of a field, and they're being romantic, and everything's great, and he's filming her, and then in the background, this mailman is shot. So now they have this tape with evidence on it. And it goes in a lot of unpredictable directions from there. I have to be really vague because this is one of those movies where it's trying so hard to be that movie that can fool you constantly. The very first plot twist is only 10 minutes in. And it's pretty much constant from there. Now, okay. It was built up to me that it was really, really, really bad. Like, really, really bad this movie was. And all the cast was wasted. I guess because I went in with that mentality, I didn't think it was that bad, but this movie's got a lot of issues. I suppose it helps to go in with really, really low expectations. This is another one of those movies, I think it was like shot over like 2 years or something, and then put together like progressively as it went. Listen to this cast list, okay? The mailman is Bruce Dern, who may or may not have a bigger part than what I just said. We have Billy Bob Thornton, who is Teresa Palmer's dad and Liam Hemsworth's boss. We have Michael Stuhlbarg, who is a creepy guy who hangs around town, who may or may not be, into some things. We have Oliver Platt, who comes in to basically investigate, because there's a reward for who can catch, somebody who takes out a mailman or something. And we have our authority figure, our sheriff, John fucking Malkovich. And you have people from great Coen Brothers movies in this already. Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton's probably the most disappointing one, though, because he's not bad in it or anything, but think about it. This is like a love letter to the Coen Brothers, okay? But look what you have here. Billy Bob Thornton has such a respect for the Coens that he signed up to be in The Man Who Wasn't There without reading the script. He signed up to star in that movie. He didn't even read the script yet. He had already signed up. Obviously, the spin-off series for Fargo, he just won a Golden Globe for. So that's going well for him. And then he got an Oscar nomination for A Simple Plan, which was Sam Raimi, but everybody considers that the ultimate quintessential non-Coen Brothers movie. So Billy Bob Thornton really knows the territory. But the trouble is he's probably sleepwalking more than anybody else in this movie, sadly. It's like when I said he was shot over 2 years, it's like he received the script 2 years ago and then just showed up on set now and doesn't remember what the fuck he's doing here. John Malkovich is basically he's basically playing a low rent Ed Tombo, which is hard to escape, but still, he's not, John Malkovich isn't bad. That just doesn't happen. John Malkovich just isn't bad. It never happens ever. Michael Stuhlbarg is basically playing Stephen Root in Office Space, only with a darker history. And guess what? His character's last name is even Milton. Just, no shame. I know. But, and here's the thing. Look. I do this a lot, I understand, but I just need to talk about something real quick here. Because I saw Paranoia, I saw Love and Honor, and I saw Empire State. You probably heard of one of those, maybe. Well, here's the thing. All three of those movies star Liam Hemsworth. And I just don't understand. I talked about this in the Hunger Games reviews, and now I have to talk about it again. Here's the thing. Liam Hemsworth keeps getting these leading roles. They may be really, really small movies that nobody sees, but nevertheless, Liam Hemsworth is still getting lead roles in movies, even if they're tiny. But they're all bad movies, obviously. And I just don't love and honor, especially Jesus. But here's the thing. Are they mistaking him for Chris? Is that why he gets hired? Because I cannot wrap my head around what people are thinking giving him leading roles. Look, you look at this poster. Look, you see Billy Bob Thornton, and you see John Malkovich, and you see Michael Stuhlbarg, and Oliver Platt. Why is Liam Hemsworth the headlining name here?
Yeah. Teresa Palmer shouldn't be up there either. Really?
At least she looks like a Hepburn in comparison to him.
Agreed.
Pick one. She looks like a Hepburn in comparison to him. There's a weird subplot with her in a pageant that's not even worth going into, but is it that hard to read a line? I wouldn't think so. But every time he cannot sit, like, if he is in a life or death situation, if he has a loaded gun pointed directly at him and a bullet coming towards his face, he would have the exact same emotional depth going on than if he was walking to his car to go to the store. It would just be the same delivery you know, I'm going to the store. I'm about to be shot in the head. Same delivery. That's not a spoiler. That doesn't happen to him, in case you were wondering. It's just an example thrown out there of a perilous situation. And not only that, I don't know how this happened, because you have all these names, but it's clearly like a totally amateur movie. And it's just made in a way where it's just, there's nothing original going on here. And there's nothing else that it has to offer. There's nothing it had to offer these people at all. It doesn't give them parts to really, really, you know, really come out with. I mean, Bruce Dern has a really good scene. Bruce Dern is good throughout the movie. There's one particular scene he has that he's really good in. But even though I wouldn't say the actors were 100% totally wasted, 100%, there's still really nothing. I don't understand why actors like this would sign up. Unless he was lucky enough to get one and the rest came, you know, based on the other name. That's the only thing I can come up with. And it's also one of those movies where, like I said, there's a lot of twists and turns, and it keeps wanting to think it's ahead of you. It's another one of those movies that kills off its characters a lot. Like, really, really, you know, in quick succession. Like, it's, you know, a big surprise. But in actuality, it basically just kind of feels like the movie gets bored with itself, and it really badly wants something major to happen, so a character dies. And that's just kind of how the movie progresses. And anytime there is like a big reveal, it's usually really unceremonious and lazy. And there's nothing, like, there's not that, oh my god, I didn't see that coming factor. It's just, yeah, we did this 5 minutes ago. Having said all that, like I said, going in with absolutely really low expectations, and if you have these actors on your this actor gets a free pass list, which this is pretty much my entire list of these actors, you might, you know, be a little more forgiving to it. But there's nothing I didn't find it terrible or anything. I didn't find it a chore to sit through or anything. It's just not very good. And with a cast like that, and it's trying to be like Coen Brothers like, it should have gone a lot better. It really should have gone a lot better than this. But it didn't, which is a tragedy. And lastly, we come across Al Pacino. Al Pacino is the final victim of this temporary downfall video. He and Barry Levinson, who are normally a really great team, particularly with the TV work. This is The Humbling, which is, it was a movie that was at TIFF. And maybe, or maybe you're not, you might remember that when we were doing our early August, September predictions, there was buzz going around because Pacino had this and Manglehorn, the David Gordon Green movie. Well, both of those movies just happened to be pushed to this year, so I ended up looking a little foolish, but here's one of them now. And this was the one I kept saying, because I said, as far as Oscars are concerned, Levinson, David Gordon Green, but, you know, anyway, this is what we have. Pacino is playing an actor, of course, who does, you know, the Shakespeare. He's basically playing himself. He does, you know, the Shakespearean stage adaptations and stuff like that, and is really, really revered and really, really famous. But then one day he totally loses his mind and jumps face first off the stage, and is basically declared insane. He has to see his psychiatrist, who is Dylan Baker. I don't know what Dylan Baker was busy shooting, but Dylan Baker is never in this movie in person. He is only on Al Pacino's computer screen. But, anyway, he eventually, there's a lot of plots going on here, but the main one is, a girl from his past that he knew when she was little, who's Greta Gerwig,
Yes.
comes to stay with him, and it turns out that she used to have a crush on him when she was really little, but now she's older, and yeah. But the trouble is she is sexually confused. I think that's how IMDb worded it. So we'll go with that. And there's that, but then there's a lot of other plots going on, too. He has to deal with her parents, who are Diane Wiest and Dan Hedaya, both of which are criminally underused and yeah, they were definitely wasted. Diane Wiest at least gets another big scene, but Dan Hedaya is worthless in this movie. there is another plot where there is a woman that is trying to hire him to kill her husband. And these things, there are so many. Okay. We have that going on, and to top all this off, his character is progressively going insane, and it's one of those movies where you have to decide, because they're not really, completely open about it. A lot of things he's seeing could be real, or they could be him imagining things, and you don't know which one's which. And there is so much going on in this movie that doesn't add up. This is one of those movies where I understand why movies like this exist. Sometimes we really, really need them. Actors really, really need them as well. Clearly. There's so many of them. Those movies that exist solely to be a showcase vehicle for their leading actor. Like, it's not a good movie at all, but it's just a movie that exists just so you can get another great performance out of a great actor who needs a comeback or needs a good leading role to get back in the spotlight. Or an Oscar nomination if it were back in the old days. This is one of those movies. They did not care at all what was going into this movie, except for the fact that it was going to be a big, massive showcase for Al Pacino. And yes, of course, Al Pacino is fantastic in this movie. Absolutely, totally, 100%. That cannot be denied at all. But that is all this movie is good for, and I think everybody that went into it knew that. So, you really feel aimless when you're watching this movie. Because that's the only reason this movie exists. They don't really seem to care too much about how each character's related to who, because a lot of time it's confusing. It took me forever to kind of figure out, who is this person in relation to the other people in this movie, and why are they here, and what is their goddamn purpose? I don't know, but the movie eventually kind of reveals it, and you kind of figure it out, but by then you don't really care. And there are some things that just get really, really fucking weird, probably just for the sake of it. And it gets really tiresome the way they constantly play with the is it real or is he imagining it thing? I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know. It's always great when actors can get that kind of part and can just really show off, but I don't, especially when they're playing an actor. So yeah, I'm sure she's very nice in person, but I've obviously always found Greta Gerwig pretty insufferable, and this doesn't really change my mind, so that's basically, it's a whole bunch of plots that don't add up just so Al Pacino can show off, and as long as Al Pacino can show off, that's great, but as a movie, it doesn't work, so we're done here.
Alright, so The Cobbler.
2.
Accidental Love.
1.
Cut Bank.
2.
The Humbling.
2.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Alright, so
a 1-star review every fucking week.
Double dose of AJ this week, or the long weekend, because we have brand new verses coming, which I've been saying that it's the gangster theme. The gangster theme is actually this week. Last week was our John Woo double feature with John Travolta. That was last week. I'm sorry. When we film out of order, it's kind of out of order in my head. So that gangster one is coming this week. On Monday, you'll get your reviews of Get Hard and Home. And I don't know, It Follows is coming soon. We just don't know when yet. So
don't count on it anytime soon. It'll get here when it gets here, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. So, that being said, thank you guys and girls out there for watching. AJ, of course, is enjoying his vacation right now for one more day. And the next time we do this kind of steez again, I'll be gone. So, as we're filming this on March 20th, I have 180 days left. So, there you go. AJ, any parting words?
That's it.